Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, your number one podcast for all things Assassin's Creed.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 122 of Let's Talk Assassin's Creed. This week, we are going back to a topic that we've been looking forward to revisiting for some time, community spotlights, where we're talking to different people in the community about their contributions, their collections. The last time we did one of these episodes was with Michael Smith, the Lord Rayless, and his epic Assassin's Creed collectibles collection that he has. This time, we are talking to Valorian Ru. Welcome to the show, Ru.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We put this into our calendar of events in October, and we'll get to that point in just a moment, because I really wanted to talk to you. And it's unfortunate that we've had such a packed schedule of guests and ideas, and then we had the release of the crossover, which then took several more weeks. We just haven't had a chance to talk to you. So if you're listening to this thinking, why are they talking about stuff that happened in October? It's just the schedule. The schedule is king, but finally we're together.
Yes.
So Declan, what are we talking about specifically?
Everything and everything. My highlight would have to be Codextober. Just Codextober. If anyone remembers Codextober, it was basically the month of October where we were illegally allowed to stalk Twitter to see the amazing Assassin's Creed community work that Ru set up, because it was epic.
It was epic.
I have to ask though, how did that come about?
So the whole idea of Codextober, it originally comes from an art challenge called Inktober that's been running for a couple of years now. But over the past couple of years, people have kind of been branching out and starting their own lists. In, I believe, 2019, my friend Adri, she made a list that was AC Inktober. And then in 2020, Sophia, she made Creedtober. And then in 2021...
Would that be Sophia that was with us last week, I wonder? Sophia
yes,
EA16.
Yes, her indeed.
Very good. Very good.
So then in 2021, I was like, oh, no one's made an Assassin's Creed list yet. Maybe I'll do one this year. So I spent probably about a week kind of crunching out the prompts, making sure they were as broad as possible so everyone could kind of join in. And it's originally just art, mostly, but obviously not everyone in the Assassin's Creed community is an artist. So I thought, art, writing, virtual photography, cosplay, kind of all of those creative lanes that the Assassin's Creed community has. So yeah.
If it was art, because of my level of skillful artness, it would have just been copy and pasted stickmen for the whole month, because that's all I could draw. So you just had an army of 31 stickmen in your different poses.
Stick Ezio? Could get on board with that.
I will draw Stick Ezio one day and see what happens.
As long as you get the hood right, you're in the big belt buckle, you're fine.
Mm.
Oh, I can't draw hoods.
But I was very glad when you said, Ru, that it could be virtual photography, because I was quite excited to take part. But yeah, I don't draw, and I don't have any cosplay either. So yeah, the fact that it was virtual photography was like happy days. 31 days of figuring out how to take decent pictures and sharing new pictures. I've actually got right in front of me. I've kept all the pictures that I took and shared, and I've got them all in a folder. One day I'm going to make some kind of slideshow or something. But anyway, I've still got them all in front of me here. Including the prompt list.
Yes. That prompt list was really fun to kind of design. Because I was like, obviously it needs to be something that's easy to read. People can kind of like screenshot it and have it on their own page. But it also needs to look, Assassin's Creed and kind of like a codex. So I took one of Altair's codex pages, and that's what sits in the background.
Oh my God.
With the opacity way turned down, but it's still there, and it kind of gives it that little interest to it.
So can I just say, right? So perhaps we should reshare a copy of the prompt list when we publish the episode, Declan. Or actually, I might even use it as the YouTube thumbnail background. Anyway, so when I was doing the planning, I printed out a copy of it, and then I was ticking it off day by day, and I was sort of scribbling ideas for further into the month. Oh, this week, or this day, I could do this scene or this character. And it's only now that I'm looking at the prompt list again, and it was at the same time that you said it. I'm really, really sorry, Ru. I never noticed the background before. But it's there. It's all the parkour moves. He's jumping over a wall. He's pulling up on a beam. So how did you create, just from sort of graphic design point of view, how did you create the prompt list?
So I started with just a blank canvas. I used Procreate on the iPad. Use that, and then of course the Assassin's Creed wiki, massive help, because they've got all the images saved of Altair's codex. So nice. I kind of went through and chose, one that I really liked and kind of had enough visual interest, but it wasn't too busy. Then I brought that into Procreate, kind of changed the color around to make it match the background, lowered the opacity, edited it out because there was text in Arabic. And as I had the text in Arabic, that was kind of being covered by the English text. I was like, don't want to have that. And then obviously I had the Assassin's logo, then text. Making sure all the text was all the same size was surprisingly one of the hardest parts to do.
Oh, really? Okay. So I've never used Procreate. I do very basic stuff in Canva and now in Photopea, which is a free and online version of Photoshop. So I don't know anything about Procreate. So what's tricky about text in Procreate then?
There's two ways that you can change size of text. You can either change it in the actual text bar or your text box. And once you've kind of changed in your text box, it kind of distorts just a little. They've said that they're trying to figure out how to make it so it doesn't distort. And if you change one box, then you can just change your next box above to have the same size. Yeah. Probably the part that I focused most on when designing all of the graphics was to make it as readable as possible. So I didn't want to have too much clutter on it. So then those with screen readers would be able to read it, and an alt text generator would be able to read through the page and not kind of get caught up on any of the little background noises maybe.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you even considered accessibility. Would the text be what's the word? Have enough contrast of the background to be readable? Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah.
One of the things that I remember learning when I did I did graphic design in high school. It was just included in one of the classes. It was called Visual Communication and Design, and we had a whole little section where it was making sure that your work is accessible for online platforms, not just that it starts as a large enough size that when you upload it, it doesn't get all pixelated, but for people that have disabilities or need extra accessibility options, that it can be used by them as well. So it was a really good part of that course.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I suppose if you're making the text more readable for a screen reader, you're making it more readable for everybody, which is good for everyone. Yeah.
I think
was there any point when you were putting the list together, because it's 31 days in October, so there are 31 prompts, was there a point when you thought, I'm not sure if I've got enough prompts here, I need to really sort of dig into the wiki, or did they just come and assemble into a list quite easily?
I started with about 40 prompts originally. Some of them were the basic ones, parkour, assassin, Templar, boss fight. And then I was kind of getting into them and being oh, what can I do with these ones? So, I think I had Animus on there, and kind of figuring out ones that left it broad enough, but also they were clearly for a specific kind of topic. I think I had glitch. Obviously, there's so many,
that was fun. That was a fun day. That was
funny glitches. I had one of my friends who was sending me a Google Doc of all the glitches they had caught in all the Assassin's Creed games they'd played, and There's something about the birds in Syndicate that they glitch so well, and the same with the birds in Valhalla. There's some funny looking birds in there.
Excellent.
One of the biggest things I noticed about the Codextober prompt list is surprisingly how much these lists were so diverse for all the games, but also stuff the games don't really focus on. So by that I mean, like with betrayal. There's a lot of betrayal in Assassin's Creed, especially the very start of the Ezio games. But when you look at the Codex prompt and you think about, right, I need to get the photo mode or an artist, you suddenly realize how much these little things aren't in the forefront of the games, even though they're quite big. Like the myth, I know the later games, the myths have become more heavy, but I'm pretty sure you could find some myths and legends from the older games just hidden in the works. Look at the octopus, the Kraken in Assassin's Creed 2. If anyone's ever found that Easter egg.
Yeah.
The Kraken? Oh, whoa, stop. Let me stop you there. The Kraken in Assassin's Creed 2.
Oh yeah, there's a Kraken. In one of the...
You need to explain that.
It's in one of the Assassin tombs, but I can't remember which one. If you stand looking at the water too much, you'll see a giant squid. And then if you actually go to the water, a tentacle will lash out at you. So it's like a Kraken Easter egg.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
But
I can't remember. I'm just looking to see. I can't even remember what I did for myth. I can't even find it right now. Doesn't matter.
I think my favourite one from the whole Codex, and I'm actually quite kind of really happy that it was on there, was, strangely enough, the Betrayal one. Because like all the other ones you could really find something to do, but Betrayal's really hard to find. And I think your Betrayal, the Eivor Weapelias artwork, was one of the coolest designs I saw for that day.
I really love doing that one, but at the same token, it kind of like it broke my heart, because as I was doing it originally, my plan was to have kind of like that web, and then in the web there was going to be all the people that had betrayed her. And as I was going through, I was like, oh, there's way more betrayals in Valhalla than I thought. And I was like, oh yeah, because obviously Valhalla is such like a massive game. I'd finished it like a couple of weeks after launch, because I was just grinding through it because I was on my holidays. And it's like, oh yeah. And then when you go back, I found that the best thing is how I was going back either through the wiki or like loading up the games, is kind of going back to all of the old stuff that I hadn't played in a while and being like, oh yeah, that little detail or that little detail.
So we should explain for people listening, as well as doing the prompt list, which inspired lots of creativity. And I'm interested to hear some numbers from you in a minute. But you produced an art piece every day for 31 days. I wish I knew any. Thing is, to ask good questions about a topic, you have to know something about the topic. I know nothing about art, so I'm going to wing it, and we'll see how we go. It was all done with a very distinctive art style, and mostly in just a very simple color scheme of red, white, and black, which just really makes it stand out. I think they'd make some fantastic playing cards. But anyway, you put yourself under a lot of pressure, or did you have some of these prepared in advance, or were you drawing every day to get a piece out?
Some of them I had prepared, just like little kind of like thumbnail sketches. But I believe I got to about... so I got to day 7, which was Templar. I got to then, and then there was a couple of other days, but I'd been doing them all like hand-drawn, just like on a sketchbook. But doing that all on a sketchbook, and kind of like I had to, all my references, it was like, I had to like collect all my references, and then I was losing references on my desk because it was a mess. But my main problem is the way that I was drawing. Obviously, if you've got a sketchbook, it's flat on the ground, like on your table, and the way that I was drawing, my hand was really starting to get sore. So about kind of halfway through, I switched to doing digital, because that way I could have my iPad kind of propped up, and I had a better angle to draw at. And I was really heartbroken at being like, oh, you know, I haven't managed to do it all 31 days traditionally. But I was like, if I don't switch, I'm not going to be able to get it done. And then there's going to be more pressure because it's obviously I've got to make all my artworks. And then I was trying to retweet and comment on everyone else's work. Because at the start I was thinking, oh, this might be me, a couple of friends, and some other, you know, members of the community. But if you want some numbers, I did check some numbers.
So I've got two. So I tell you what we just before we dive into numbers very quickly, if people are listening to this right now, they may want to look at your artwork. Of course, if you want to find all the content the community created on Twitter or on Instagram, just search for the hashtag Codextober and you'll find everything that everyone created. But if people want to find your artwork, I guess your Instagram page might be the easiest place to find it. Where should people go if they want to look at it live while we're talking?
Probably my Instagram account, which is Soulless Demon, which is SOLISDAEMON. And if you scroll down, you'll see the collection of artworks that's just white, black, and red, and a little bit of gold.
Yeah, the one that really, I mean, they're all fantastic, and again, the color scheme really is. I don't know what the right word is. It just really pops. But the one that really made my eyes go wide is day 3 with Eivor and Javi's heads, but kind of pulled apart. And I just, please go and have a look at it, because I could never describe it in a way that would do it justice. But it was like, whoa, that's amazing. What was the inspiration for that, out of interest?
At the start of the game, that kind of little glitch that, you know, kind of baby Eivor gets as she's being attacked by the wolf, kind of like, it's obviously like an animus glitch, but it's kind of like two people are trying to like pull themselves apart. And then it's like the whole thing of Odin is like, you know, you are me, I am you. And it's kind of like they're connected in a way that, like, it doesn't seem, I don't know how to explain it. It's connected in a way that doesn't seem possible. You know, when you think reincarnation, you maybe don't think you've got someone living inside your head.
Yeah.
And also a little kind of like detail that I put on that was a couple of red lines for the whole red string of fate, which is I believe it's a Chinese myth, and it's two people will be connected by a red string, and that red string will lead them to their fate. And usually it's with soulmates or with, like, you know, the person you're meant to love. But a lot of fandoms, they kind of have it more in like a, I guess you can say in an angsty way, more of kind of like an emotional way, like, you know, your fate is, you know, it could be this certain object or this certain place. So that was what that one was inspired by. But that one was a lot of fun to do, and that was, I think that was the crowd favorite until I posted the bureau piece. That I did not expect the one that had the little bureau to get so much love on it, but it did.
Is that where you've got like, and again, I don't know the right words, it's almost like an isometric. Yeah, that's fantastic. Really, again, I don't know why, because I'm not clever enough to use the right words. I just like it. As simple as that. I mean, I would just want to say they're all fantastic pieces of work.
Thank you.
And definitely, please check them out on Ru's Instagram page. It's probably the easiest to find them. Obviously, I want to say honourable mention for a day 20 glitch, where as many people wanted to highlight Arno and his fabulous hair and the many Unity faces. That was a funny day. We were going to talk about numbers. So I wrote down, I mean, I've got a page full of different thoughts and questions here, but I definitely had 2 numbers. You said that you were thinking it might just be a small group of friends. So how many people were taking part? And the one I'm really fascinated about, and it's a silly question, how many notifications were you getting every day? It must have been insane.
Well, I'm one of those, I don't have notifications on for a lot of posts. I have them on for messages, because I was like, if a lot of stuff starts getting liked, I don't want my phone constantly pinging or
That's
going
what I was
off.
wondering. Yep.
So I was like, okay, I'll have notifications off for if like someone's liked it, but comments I'll leave on. And I don't know how to do like notifications for hashtags, so I didn't know when people were uploading. But I use this like free software online that tells you kind of like how many engagements your tag was getting. And I think that it was around, let me see, around day 25, it peaked, where it was something like across the whole internet. So Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, there was a couple on Reddit. So all of these social media platforms, there was around 7,000 engagements on posts that were tagged with Codextober.
Nice.
How much? Jesus. That's imagine trying to meet people today of all them numbers and all them hashtags going at once. That's a lot.
Yeah, I didn't really want to like be tracking all of that, because obviously it's like all the numbers. It's the worst thing for like artists and people on social media, is to be constantly looking at the numbers. So I was like, okay, I'll just get like a general gauge of how much engagement this is getting. You know, is there enough interest to do it next year? Which,
yes.
Spoiler alert, yes.
Yes, I am.
Yay.
I am so down for the one, because I tried my hardest to keep it serious. You know, I could not help but troll during Codextober. Like on the stealth one, and I know it's evil, I put a picture of a plain bridge. I told people that Ava was hiding in the bridge for stealth. No, she
Brilliant.
wasn't. Just a plain bridge.
So good.
I was like, yep. I was like, if there's a new Codextober, I'm going to find one just to do a little troll on, just because it was so much fun. I had like so many stealth photos, and I was like, you know, just put a bridge. See what happens. Tell people she's hiding in the bridge. And everyone's like, oh, I can't see her. Have you found her? Has anyone found her? And I'm like, no, she's not there. She's on the other side.
It's like a Where's Wally, except Wally ain't in the picture. Yeah.
I loved it. It was, but I think the biggest thing it proves, and I don't think it should just be limited to October, I think the community should do it more, is how much the community would come together just to have some fun.
Mm.
I think that was the biggest thing I noticed. Like, it seemed small, you know, just like one picture every day, but the amount the community just took and ran with it, and even how many numbers of engagements, it feels like something we should try and do nearly every month of the year. Just randomly, just do some random stuff every month for Assassin's Creed, and get more creative people like you spotlighted on the community, in my opinion.
Thank you.
What can we do for March? What should we do for March?
I think there is a March one by BS Arts on Twitter, and she does one that's called Mystios March, and it's just a month of just Cassandra artwork, which, as a Cassandra fan, is wonderful. And last year she included Eivor in that, and everyone loved it.
This sounds fantastic. I'm on board for that.
Absolutely. We've just had some perfect content for Cassandra and Eivor, haven't we?
Yes.
In game. On that topic, Ru, did you have you listened? Maybe you don't, but have you listened to the latest Sisterhood Speaks episode?
Yes.
Right. So you saw the comment from Clemence about how the fan art can kind of help to inspire the developers. And I think Six Key said, maybe Lorena said whilst they were recording, don't forget to spam all of your fan art at Clemence for future inspiration. So it was nice to see that, because you'd done some sort of Cass Eivor art in the past, and nice to see it brought to real life, wasn't it, in those new crossover stories.
And that was, when I heard that, the whole thing that I was like kind of more nervous about than like engagement and who would do it with Codextober is obviously everything that's happened with Ubisoft. I didn't want it to seem like I was like, promoting kind of like the company, obviously, because there's still a lot of work to be done. But with Clemence, it's clear, I wanted to do this for like the developers, that even if they worked on a game, a couple of years ago, people are creating content for that game still. So it's kind of like appreciating, all of the smaller members that go into making a game. You've got your foliage artists, your character artists, your background people, the ones that, maybe write the small little side quests that, someone could skip over if they're not a completionist. All those tiny little kind of like details that are the ones that bring the game together. That's kind of what I really wanted to highlight. And then hearing her say like, oh yeah, we get inspired by fan art and we love to see it. I was like, okay, so I was on the right path with that one.
Yay. What you want to hear, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah.
Great. I had a similar, sorry, Declan.
I was just going to say, I think that's one of the things I noticed with the Codextober is when it was happening with everything was going on, it wasn't one of those moments where, like how the show's run in the podcast, there is so many hardworking people at Ubisoft that are probably the nicest people on the planet. You can't hide your work from them to show them thank you. And I think a lot of times with Codex, I think I've had a few Ubisoft people like other people's work and share it, and it shows how much a lot of the developers themselves were looking through Codextober and seeing appreciation for their work, and it's kind of nice for them, I think, just to be like, times are tough, Ubisoft is not handling us properly, but this game I may have not worked on for like 10 years is just having so much community love. It's good to see it again, and I think it's kind of something, a bigger picture that the Codextober painted, if that made sense.
Yeah.
I think you can. Okay, the way I justify it to myself, because I mean, I don't do artwork. I'm not that talented, but I do create a lot of. I've spent a lot of time over the last 6 months exploring virtual photography in Unity and Syndicate, which isn't simple. You have to use a lot of mods and so on to make it work, but it is very satisfying to get right. And the way that I think about it, and the reason we do this podcast is you can expect better behavior from the 1% at the top of the company whilst also celebrating the work of the 99%.
Absolutely.
And if we don't celebrate the work of the 99%, then we don't have a product because the games won't sell, and they need some positive feedback as well. Just one thing I'll quickly say on the point of getting feedback, if you like, from developers. So Boxing Day, which for those countries that don't celebrate it, in the UK and probably in Australia too, 26th of December, is also a public holiday. Yeah. And I was just playing a bit of casual Unity and did a very quick video sort of highlight reel of just a bit of parkour and stab action in Paris. And I did something the next day, and someone I don't know who replied to the tweet and said, "Oh, I worked on Unity. It's great to see this game getting so much love after 7 years." I thought, that's nice. And we ended up having a very short sort of conversation. And this guy tagged. I commented that the balloon sequence where you parkour across the roofs and end in the balloon is the best parkour sequence in the franchise, and he tagged the lady who was the level designer for that mission in it, and she just replied and said, "This is great. It was so nice to have that feedback. I didn't realize anyone had noticed." And I thought, oh my god, that's really sad, but yes, this is a fantastic sequence, and it makes me happy to know that you've seen that people are still enjoying it many years later. So you got to share a bit of love, haven't you, whilst also trying to hold the right people to account.
Absolutely, because it's that whole thing of there's only so much that we can do. Obviously, it's a lot of legal stuff that kind of like community members can't get into.
Yeah.
But it's great that, as you said, we can help, support the 99% that are, they're doing their job, they're doing something that they love, kind of hyping them up, if you will. Where as the community, we're the 99% hype squad, basically.
I love that as a community, as a tag. Maybe we should rename the podcast 99% Hype Squad. It's brilliant. Anyway.
I like hyping things up. That'd be fun. Especially if it means we can just share some cool stuff all over Twitter again, because I need more excuses to spam Twitter with random stuff. So yeah, let me hype stuff up.
Yeah.
So one question I had, if I think James has anything to ask, what was your hardest piece of work to create for Codextober?
Let me just go and check at the artworks,
Ooh.
just so I can find one that was probably really difficult.
I may have been secretly scouring all your artworks before we started this podcast.
Oh, same here. I was reading back through Ru's Instagram feed and all her media she shared on Twitter just to sort of refresh my memory. I mean, there's great stuff on there outside of the Codextober stuff. There is fantastic. I love the one of Cassandra just sitting on the bench with her arm up. Because she's wearing the Pilgrim set, which is my favourite set, but she just looks so casual and chilled. It's really nice to see her just chilled.
I was doing that one because my friend had kind of said, she's like, hey, what happened after that warehouse fight with like Rasidas? Did they just like go and have a drink? And I'm like, I think in the book they did. Like they just went and got, a cup of wine together. So that was kind of the inspiration of that.
Yeah,
of her just being like, yeah, I've kind of just, fought off a bunch of people, probably killed a man, might just chill in a tavern. But probably my hardest one to do was day 24, which was parkour. Getting that kind of pose for Desmond. It took a lot of reference pictures, a lot of tweaking. Usually I do all my poses myself and kind of like, pose in my bedroom, get a, screenshot so I know where to place everything, but I can't do a backflip. So it's
I see what you mean. Right. So yes, he's backflipping, I guess, off of a synchronization point. So he's mid-flight, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, so That's quite hard to pose in your home, isn't it?
Yeah. So honestly, a lot of artists, I got to say, guys, use reference photos, stock images to kind of get your composition and then go from there.
Understood.
Yeah. That's my tip to artists. Use references and make sure to stretch your hands every 30 or so minutes.
You don't want to get like artist's cramp in your hands, I guess.
Yeah. Carpal tunnel. When you get like really sore under your wrists, you always want to watch out for that because that could be, a severe injury. So you just take it easy.
So before it started, so let's say September the 30th, were you worried that it might fizzle out, or were you happy just to produce the content for yourself anyway, and what will be will be?
It was kind of a mix. I was worried that it was kind of just gonna, land and sink a bit. Been like, oh, because at the time of like my follow account blew up while I did this. I started at around like 300, and by the end of the month I was like approaching 500. So it was like, oh, I have kind of like a small follow account when compared to other people's. I was like, oh, it could fizzle out. But then when a lot of kind of bigger people started retweeting it, I was like, okay, so it's getting the engagement.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I was just really happy to be able to, give my love to a franchise that I love so much. Like, even if, as I was saying, even if it was just like me and a couple of friends doing it, I still would have been really happy. And the fact that it kind of got so big, I was like, whoa. Because I'm from like a small town. It's smallish, but it's like, it's not a massive city. My school had less than 100 people when I graduated. So it's like, oh, when you're suddenly getting all of this, all of these people from all over the world. It's kind of like a big surprise. You're like, oh, yeah, I forget there's, people halfway across the world that follow me. Internet's a strange thing.
It is. I think the phrase is the global village, isn't it? And it does feel like that.
One thing that sorry, I'm losing my voice. One thing that actually was surprising me is you started planning all this back at the start of September, because I remember seeing in the Mentors Guild, because I know you're part of the Mentors Guild, you dropped the prompt list, and you were like, although October is little worth, I posted the prompt list, and everybody was just so on board. And I know I literally was like, I saw virtual, I was like, I saw photography, someone needs to remind me. And I think I ended up actually setting like an alarm on my phone just to remember that date for the first, just to go on Twitter and start it, just because I needed an excuse just to spam Twitter with photos. To be honest, it was just like, I need an excuse. I take too many photos. No one's going to like want to see 31 days of me posting random shots. Let's go follow Codextober and actually challenge myself to take photos that I would not normally do, which is kind of cool to see, and I really want to see more, and kind of see more of your artwork as well that you do for Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it was like, I kind of like wanted to give people a chance to kind of like plan, because obviously, some people are right for thinking on the spot, but then other people, they might want to plan a bit more. And I think I planned about 10 days before I started, literally just tiny little sketches, and then other days I would just write, maybe what game I was going to do from. But yeah, when I saw like the response in the Mentors Guild, I think that was maybe my first point when I was like, oh, this could maybe work.
And then, of course, there's the point where, oh no, people have taken notice. I can't stop now. I've got to see it through.
Yeah.
I can't back out now.
There was a point kind of like a bit through October that I got a little bit sick. I was a bit worried that it was the big C. I don't know if you get muted on Spotify for saying the big C. I know that you do on YouTube. But I was like, oh, I gotta make sure that I do it. And I was kind of like, okay, I'll just do a quick one. I think that was, day 11, which was Hidden Blade, where I just did, a quick kind of, I called it like a patent page because it looks like the old patent sheets you'd get.
It does, yeah.
So I did that one kind of like early in the morning, and then I kind of took some cold and flu medicine and probably went to bed at around like 8 at night. So it was kind of like, I got to get through this, which kind of means, I got to get into a schedule. I have the bad habit of staying up really late because a lot of my friends are overseas, so I'll talk with them. But then I was like, oh, I got to have a normal person schedule so I can make sure that, I'm getting all of this out, because I was really worried. I was like, oh, what if I miss a day? It's going to be, really awkward. But luckily, I've got my mum. She's my hype squad, basically. She was like, it's okay if you don't get a day. You can just do it the next day. And I had the advantage of Australia being kind of like a day ahead from like a lot of people. I think, I'm 11 hours ahead of the UK and something like 14 of the Atlantic coast of the US.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I had a bit of leeway just with time zones, which was maybe the first time that the Australian time zone worked in my benefit.
Yeah. We've done a recording with Servalan, who's in New Zealand, where the time zone is even more extreme. And yes, poor Serv. There's often times when we will chat, or in the past we've done some co-op. And yes, time zones do not work in favour of those of you on the wrong side of the planet. So yeah, I get that. I wondered if I might completely change tack for a moment. So you earlier you said that this was kind of a celebration of a franchise you loved, and I wondered if we could talk about that and ask you, when did the love start?
Obviously, since I say I'm young, I'm 20. So obviously, when the first game came out, I wasn't allowed to play video games, let alone one where you run around stabbing people.
Yeah.
I very much was a Mario Kart kid. Played a lot of like Mario Kart, Mario, a lot of Zelda. So I kind of didn't really get into like, I guess, action games until I was kind of like in late primary school. I had a friend, we were best mates, and I went over to his place and we were playing Black Flag. And Black Flag was probably the first AC game that I played. And I have like this very much memory of, we finished the game, we got the parting glass sequence, and then a couple of weeks later, he moved away, and I haven't seen him since.
Oh.
But it's still like that memory of that sequence in the game. I always remember, like, you know, my good friend. So it's like, you know, if he's out there somewhere, man, you know, just want you to know, you started this all. Because
this is all your fault. So we can trace Codextober back to your friend when you were a young primary school child who picked up and played Black Flag for the first time.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I didn't have a console that I could play the games on until 2018. So I played a couple of the games at my friend's house. I played AC1, a friend's house, all of these games, Syndicate, friend's house. But then 2018, for Boxing Day, on the good old sales, I got an Xbox, and I got Odyssey, and that's really where the addiction started with that game. Because I just fell in love with that game. And then in 2019, I was going into like my final year of high school. So I was doing it's called your VCE, which I guess the equivalent would be your A levels in the
I think so, yeah.
UK, and then I think in the US it's kind of like your final exam is the equivalent of the SAT. So it's like it's the big year that you got to kind of like really work hard. And I was kind of, you know, playing all these games. That was my way to like decompress after school. I'd get home, I'd have a snack, I'd play about an hour of Odyssey to kind of like chill from everything at school, and then I'd go and do my homework.
To be fair, I think we both did that. I think gaming is like my chill thing, because I play about 2 hours a night after a long day, and there's something so satisfying about Odyssey, just chill out. The world's fun to roam around in, unless it's a Kefalonian ball. No, I want to chill, not verse the Kefalonian ball. Or that weird rooster. Did you ever find the weird rooster on the island?
Oh, yes.
Or just like any chicken in that game.
The murder chickens
just walks
are
by
everywhere.
them and they're just like, bad vibes.
Yep.
And just attack her.
As a Zelda player, you must realise that is the ultimate honorage to Zelda ever, the chickens. And Skyrim.
Yes, and also, I forget where it is. I think it's kind of like up near like the Macedonia region. There is a tiny little circle of stones and a rock with a leaf on it. And it's one of the Koroks from both Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild. And it's like this tiny little Easter egg. And I remember I stumbled upon it, and I was like, oh, that's a Breath of the Wild Easter egg. You know, that's two of my favourite games coming together.
That is epic.
I've never heard of this before, Ru. So this is up in Macedonia. There's a little reference to Breath of the Wild, is there?
I believe so. It's kind of,
wow.
It's up in that kind of like mountainy region, around where near the Legacy of the First Blade DLC is, in like the first episode of that. I'll try and I'll find it and I'll send
I'm
it to you.
Googling right now because I want to. I've never played Breath of the Wild, but I just want to see the little reference because that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, a Korok. Okay, I've never heard that word before. Korok. Korok puzzle. Awesome. If one travels to a small island, okay, off the coast of Pandora's Cove in the nation of, or the region of Malice, he or
Ah.
she will find a conspicuous circle of stones. Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And like my
I'm going to go and
sister,
check that out. That's great.
my sister, we're like both gamers, but she's not really into the Assassin's Creed franchise, but she's really into Zelda. And when we were when I was playing, I literally got up and I was like, "Yo, come here! There's like a little Breath of the Wild Easter egg." And she got the remote and she was going around and she wanted to find more. She was like, "Come on, we need to find more." I was like, "I think there's only one." And she's like, "No, there's always got to be more."
They just haven't been found yet. So that's the challenge for the listeners.
The challenge, guys, go and find some more Koroks in Odyssey. I'm sure they're there.
Absolutely.
If you find them in England, I'm proud of you.
The one Easter egg that I got annoyed to find in Odyssey, and I was off tangent, but is the Sword in the Stone Easter egg.
Have you not found that, Declan?
I found it, but I hate finding it.
Okay.
Because Arthurian legend is one of my favourite things to read about British history. I know it's not history, but it should. And I just think it's just now overused. Every game has a King Arthur sword and stone, Skyrim has a skeleton hand holding a sword out of the water, Lady in the Lake. Now there's one in Odyssey, and I think there's one in Origin somewhere, but I can't remember. But I don't know. I don't know how we got in tangents of Easter eggs.
The thing that got me salty about the one in Odyssey is you can't pull it out of the stone. I was literally
That's a damn good point.
I was trying to figure out, I'm like, come on, there's got to be like a special button combo. And my brain immediately went back to the, was it up, down, left, right, play?
Oh, the Konami code. Excellent.
Yeah. And I was like, come on, they've got to put that one in there somewhere.
That would be amazing if that worked. It didn't work, I'm guessing, because you'd have told the entire world about it. Ah, shame.
I think to me the Easter egg that would have made it the best Easter egg in the entire games would have been for Valhalla. You know when you find Excalibur? There should have been a trophy called She's the Queen, because legend does state whoever pulls the sword from the stone becomes the King of England. And just to top it off, pulling Excalibur, getting a new achievement saying She's the Queen, would have been the pinnacle of all Easter eggs in Assassin's Creed, because it would fit so well. And technically, if Eivor is holding Excalibur, she is the legal Queen of England. Legally. Move over.
I did find it really funny when I was playing that I got Excalibur and then I immediately jumped into the sequence where you meet Alfred. And I'm thinking, I'm really sorry, man, but that throne's mine now. Like, imagine your enemy just rocks up with like a massive broadsword that's glowing. I quite frankly, I'd be like, throne's yours. You can have it.
Just a normal day in England. Yep.
He was probably there like, I'm not dealing with this. Nah, I'm out. Gonna go and live on a farm.
So after Odyssey and falling in love with that, did you go back and fill in the gaps and play the rest of the franchise, or were there just certain ones that you wanted to play?
I did. I have been going back and playing through the franchise. I played Syndicate again. That was like one of the first games that I really fell in love with, and kind of it was because Evie. I was like, I can play as a girl. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And that was like, one of the coolest things for me. I was like, how many other girls is there in like video games that you can play that are actually kind of have semi-decent stories? And when it was like Evie, I was like, she's so cool. She has the coolest fashion. She's, a little bit snarky, and she's just an absolute badass.
That's, just a shout out on whoever does the costume design for Syndicate. Did a fantastic job. They really
so
did.
Good.
Yes.
I have a special kind of place in my heart for Syndicate. One, obviously the costumes in it, but like the sound design is just, it's so good. Like the whole kind of like industrial sound to it. It doesn't come across as like, too clunky or not clunky enough. It's the perfect mix. And it also happens to be one of the first games where I heard Australia mentioned.
Oh,
Just like
tell us more.
there's sometimes there's like the little newsboys, and they're standing around. And I remember I was like, playing, ran past one, and I hear this kid just go like, Australia, Australia, and I was like, what is he on about? And then he's like, last convict ship to land in Australia. And that was one of the first times that I'd heard any mention of like convict Australia in a video game.
Oh, that's
Because
awesome.
it's rarely ever mentioned, let alone the rest of Australian history. And I was like, it's nice that it's, for once not the, oh yeah, there's a Aussie. I was like, very nice, very nice.
Yeah. So what was? Do you know one thing I noticed? I played Syndicate a couple of years ago, and I finished replaying it just 3-4 weeks ago, but this time I did a 100% run. I've done everything, and that's great. And I hadn't noticed this. I mean, embarrassingly, I didn't notice this until very much towards the end of my playthrough. But the stories or the headlines that the newspaper boys are shouting out, they change as you progress the story.
Yeah.
And it's such a nice little detail. And when you think about it, it's an obvious detail, but I didn't spot it. I'm not very observant. But because I remember one of them, just after I'd done the assassination of Lord Cardigan. And then I was walking near a newspaper boy, and he's shouting out, Lord Cardigan murdered in the Palace of Westminster. I was like, oh, this is amazing to hear these little extra bits of dialogue. But it's great to hear that there was a shout out to Australia. So he was calling out that it was the last ship to sail. Was it with?
Yeah,
with
it was I believe, the last convict ship to land in Sydney.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a detail you don't often get. Usually you get first ship lands in Australia, and it's like, don't talk about that. I don't want to hear it again.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's 1868. That's fascinating.
One of like my kind of like favorite little details of those like newspaper headlines is, I believe, every one of them, so every one of your major targets, they get their own little mention. But Roth, so Maxwell Roth, his is just, oh yeah, theatre burnt down. And I was like, that the Roth target was like so satisfying, because like from the moment I met him, I'm like, this guy has just the worst vibes. I do not trust him. He reminds me of someone that I like knew from high school, but without the arson. But I was like, oh. And then when like Jacob kills him, I'm like, yes, get it, man.
That was a satisfying kill, but that was also a very satisfying set piece as well, wasn't it? Blending with the crowds, dropping the poison into the waitress's serving jug. It was that was a good mission.
And when when the platform comes across and you climb up and you get him with the ropes, I find that one was really good, because I did theatre for a couple of years. We didn't have the big rope pulleys, but we all kind of like had the idea of, don't get anywhere near the ropes because they will get caught around your foot.
So, if you were to do Codextober again, which I hope, because that was so cool, what topics would you change, or would you keep the same set list?
I'd probably keep like a few of the same. So, I'd keep sisterhood and probably family, because those of like family, that's like one of the key themes of like all the AC games. And then sisterhood, obviously, we need to keep up that momentum, and having people, make all the art, stories, and like virtual photography. That's kind of like another way to keep it in like the public kind of eye. But for a lot of them, it's like I might have to go back to the wiki to get some ideas.
I think Betrayal. I would love to see Betrayal again, especially with Dawn of the Ragnarok coming up.
Ooh.
I think a lot of people could have like a lot of stuff stored for that. So Betrayal, Family, Sisterhood definitely would be a great one. I wouldn't know. Maybe like a fan theory one. That'd be pretty cool.
It's kind of like the Initiate one that I wanted to do. Is kind of like, everyone create their own like Initiate. Like if you were in the Initiate program, what would you look like? Or kind of like what would your character look like? Because obviously the Initiates we have seen, they kind of haven't gotten that much like character to them. They're supposed to be us. So it's like, oh, if there was one, who would you be in this, world?
That's pretty cool. I know that I'll probably end up drawing a stickman, but for format, there's stuff like Hero Forge, if you've ever heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. People could use, because I know it's for free to create your own, because I think somebody in the Mentors Guild did. Yeah, it was Tian Flanto from the Mentors Guild. He created his own Hero Forge mentor, and I think it was so cool to, do our own little initiate in the Hero Forge and post it. I think we should start this as a trend now. Who are you in the initiates? Hashtag initiates, and we just all go on
and
Hero Forge.
With obviously like the old like initiates, like AC initiates. I'd love to see that come back. That was like so good for kind of lore, and it was like the little details. It would be really interesting if it had like that, but running in like the background of the games. Because obviously in the modern day, we're only seeing what that particular, assassin cell or Templar cell is up to. So it'd be great to see like, in the background, while, Layla's cell is off in North America doing who knows what. What's, this cell that's perhaps in Japan, what are they up to? I think that would be really interesting to kind of, broaden, the scope of, the games and kind of add in like the little background information. Start fan initiates.
I think that'd be pretty good. I think, sadly, because I spent a lot of my time without Wi-Fi, I missed the Assassin's Creed Initiate, so I have no idea what it was except for Wiki, so I've been on the Wiki a lot. But having something come back like that would be pretty amazing, because the community can come together and do a lot of amazing things. So having an initiate system again, especially for live service, because if live service means, longer, then as you said, a behind the scenes initiates thing may work a lot better because it's behind the scenes and could help, maybe if you did, let's say, Codextober and Assassin's Creed Infinite was going on and someone created a fanfic for a codex, that they may add a mission into it based off the community, similar to how they said that they did the Odyssey crossover because of fan work. So more initiates work could lead to more content for Assassin's Creed, which
I was thinking on the Sisterhood podcast, when she was saying, we're really inspired by fan art to create, this crossover. And I'm thinking, if I start making fan art of the various scenarios that I'd love to see in Assassin's Creed, will they get made? If I make, a Cass and Aya concept, will we get a Cass and Aya game set in Rome?
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. I think we're going to have to do this spam like little crossovers and see what happens.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'd because I can't draw, but do an army of assassin stickmen. We might be able to get like a little animated stickman Assassin's Creed show or something. I would watch that, just, assassin stickmen doing parkour and fighting.
They've got stick arms and the hidden blades are just smaller sticks.
You do know, the kids have got tons of art stuff. I'm going to have to write some out tomorrow and just do a little stick Ezio or stick Altair or something random.
I can't wait to see it, man.
I won't do Cassandra or Avon because I don't want to butcher that, but I do something simple because they've got a hood, so something simple, maybe stick Ezio or stick Altair. James, what do you think I should create?
I would go all in on a whole Stickmen kind of month of content. I think that'd be hilarious. Or Stick Ladies, we should say as well. So that would work for me. I would love to see it.
March Stickmen, that's what we'll do. March
So
Stickmen.
I wanted to ask Ru then. So you said that you were thinking about Cass and IL, Cass and Amunet. Is that something you'd like to see in the near future? Maybe a future crossover?
I would love to see that, mostly because, like, obviously with Legacy of the First Blade, that kind of connects them. And then
Yeah.
it was like, was that just meant to explain, Aya? Or was that maybe like a hint to something further? Was that just to connect the games? Or is that kind of like a hint that maybe, they actually had more of a connection? After, Aya became Amunet, did, Cassandra just rock up in Rome? It's like, hey, so I'm actually your great grandma. We need to speed up this whole Hidden Ones business.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
She's just there, like, come on, just get it on with. We need to start stabbing people.
I could just see them, just Cass seeing Aya in some tavern in Rome and sidling up to nice hidden blade you've got there. I've got one too. Snick. Check this out. Let's go.
Oh, Cassandra's hidden
I mean,
blade is so good.
Yeah, the detail on it with Medusa's head and everything really is fantastic.
I was surprised that she was wearing it under her arm. I thought because maybe she was trained by Darius, she'd wear it on the top of her arm. But I was like, no, but also, how does the whole finger work then? Has she modified it? Or with the immortality, does, like, her finger just come back? What's the situation here?
Oh, that's a damn good point. Because Darius wears it over his arm, Eivor wears hers. Hang on, how do Basim and Hytham wear theirs?
I think they wear theirs under because they've got the finger sacrifice.
Right. So is it only, this is where I'm now being a noob, is it only Eivor and Darius that wear it overarm? Okay.
Because the reason why it's worn under the arm is, as my friend and I joke, Bayek, when he wears it under, then he slices off his finger.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe when they were starting the Hidden Ones, and they were like, "Oh, how'd you, like, lose your finger?" And he was kind of like, "Yeah, it was, to pledge my allegiance to the Hidden Ones."
Not that he strapped it on the wrong side of his arm, not at all.
And Di's in the background, just like, he cut his finger off while he was in a bathhouse, and he was only wearing a towel. It's very embarrassing. We don't like to talk about it. But now it's got me thinking, how does the finger sacrifice work? With Cassandra, has she just modified her blade like Leonardo modified Ezio's? What's going on here? I need the blade lore.
So again, we're off topic, but it doesn't matter. I would have to go back and watch my recordings or watch the cutscenes on YouTube. Darius's blade, I suppose, like Eivor's, is very broad, but my memory of Cassandra's blade is it's very thin.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just thin enough that it goes between the fingers. I know that's a really bad explanation, but I'll have to go back and look at. So I did take some pictures of it and some video of it. I'd have to go back and have a look. But yeah, my memory is it being a very slender blade rather than a. I mean, like Darius's blade feels like it could be almost the width of the hand. It's very thin in cross section, but it's very wide. Is my memory. So maybe that's the reason. And now I'm curious to know whether Aya. Does she follow her husband with his mistake and wear it underarm, or does she wear it overarm the way it's supposed to be worn? Who knows? It'd be interesting to see if she returns with it in the future.
I think it would be really interesting if kind of she wears it overarm, because obviously Darius raised Epidios, and then if he raised him to be an assassin, he would wear his hidden blade on the top. And then maybe he would train, his children to wear it like that. And it would just go down until you get to Aya, and she's wearing it on the top. But then Bayek wears it on the bottom. and they kind of, I don't know, maybe have to make up a story about why he accidentally cut his finger off. And it's just because it's just got to become a thing. They get to Ezio. Cassandra's just in the background of Renaissance Italy, being like, "Yes, we got a smart one."
I'm wondering now if is it Althea or Alethea? Because I always pronounce
Alethea.
it. I'm wondering if Lethea's like, you do know that it'd be stupid to do that. Let me just tell you what to do, offset the blade by this little bit, because she'd be smart as anything. Just offset the blade a little bit, put a little bit of rocks there, you're all sorted. Either that or technically it was never meant to cut off the finger, and Bayek just didn't want to be the only one, so he said, right, everybody, chop your finger off, that's how we do things now.
It's tradition now.
And I could just imagine him sneaking into like headquarters of the new Hidden Ones and on purposely changing all the scripts to show that you have to lose a finger.
Yeah.
And then Altair is just like, hang on a minute, some idiot changed this. Let me just put it back to normal.
Adds like a fourth tenant. Must cut your finger off.
That's it. Bayek just on purposely wanting to cover up his mistake.
It's like, does that contradict with the first of stay your blade from the flesh of the innocent if you're cutting your own finger off? How does the logistics work?
I'm now just imagining Bayek just trying to cover up his mistake on purpose. Aya doesn't lose a finger, does she?
I don't think she does.
Wondering.
Alright, I'm Googling this in a minute.
Actually, she wears the blade. Oh no, hang on. How does she kill Caesar? Is it with a hidden blade or is it just with a dagger? I don't remember that final scene.
Because she kind of goes like lower back.
That's what I'm yeah, that's kind of what my memory is, Ru, and I'm wondering whether she ever, even in that ending scene, which takes place a few years later, you'd have thought by then she might have worn a hidden blade, but maybe she doesn't. Mind you, as you're approaching the Senate house in Rome, you can assassinate the guards that are protecting it. And again, I don't remember how those assassinations are done. Are they with a hidden blade? Are they with a dagger? Does she kind of just thump them on the back of the neck to knock them out? My memory's so hazy.
Maybe the scene where she's talking with Cleopatra. And Cleopatra goes to take a swipe at her, and I think she like brings out her hidden blade. And hers is kind of like with the wider blade tip that's kind of similar to Darius's.
Gotcha.
Okay, I have a theory if anyone's like interested for me going off topic here.
Go for it.
I've gone on Google because I love Google. Now, everybody's hidden blade is on top of a bracer. But when Bayek attacks in the bathhouse, he's not wearing a bracer. The blade is literally strapped to his flesh. So maybe the reason why Aya can use it is because the bracer offsets the blade, so it doesn't, cut the finger. But because Bayek wore it so close to his hand, it cut off his finger, and thus decided to make everybody do the same so he doesn't feel... I'm sticking with that. But if you look at the picture, and I've like zoomed in and everything because I'm a weirdo, he's not wearing any protection on his wrist. It's just a piece of string. It's about 4 pieces of string on a knife. No wonder he lost a finger. He's just holding it with string. Whereas Aya has a full metal bracer. So I'm wondering if that was the cause.
Hang on a minute. Sorry.
We're totally off topic now.
Right, so I'm going to... Again, we are off topic, but who cares?
Who cares?
So I am very, very slowly replaying Origins. I've only played it once, and I'm about halfway through, and it's taken me a year because I kind of just dip in and out, maybe like an hour every few weeks. And I've recently been experimenting with some photo mode mods to get some different angles and all the rest of it. And I've got a picture here of Aya. And it's in Memphis, when they get to Memphis and they are trying to save the Apis bull. And the picture I've got of her, I think she's wearing a hidden blade under her arm, but I think that is a hidden blade. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense because I think there's only one, isn't there? So maybe that's just a bit of an animation, or not animation, like character design error. But I'm going to have to go and take some more pictures and use the mods to get a closer look.
Now I'm thinking
I didn't
like
think she had one.
The modern section where Layla gets one of the hidden blades and she just straps it to her arm with sticky tape.
Does she really? I don't remember
I think
that.
she
That's
does.
brilliant.
Like she just like straps it onto her arm, and I think she's literally just wearing like a jacket. And then she goes out, takes out Abstergo, gets back in the Animus, and then jumps out again and just like flicks her blade at like William Miles, but she's still got her fingers.
Okay.
I think there might need to be another podcast episode that's just on which assassins still have their fingers.
I would love that. Absolutely.
What is the hand law of the assassins? How many of them have still got? How many of them have still got 10?
Yeah. Declan, rescue us. We've gone way off topic. I'm now scrolling through hundreds of Origins pictures to try and find a close-up of Aya's left hand. So, yeah, that's not very helpful.
I'm not rescuing you on this one because
thanks, mate.
How it seems to work is Origins is trying to say that you get the hidden blade from Aya because of from Cleopatra, because of the Weapon of Justice, and there is a gif of you using it, but Aya Bayek flicks his hand backwards so the blade would miss his finger. So therefore, canon, he ballsed it up, lost his finger, and he'd made over 100 generations of assassins cut the fingers off because he's a tit and forgot to do it himself. Their canon were done. But before we get back to the topic, I do want to address that I think Aya stabbed Julius Caesar with a dagger. And the reason why I'm saying a dagger is in history, he is noted to be stabbed by 47 daggers, I think. So I think for Aya's sake, it would have been more of her to use a dagger like everyone else, because it would be a bit odd that he's running around with all these daggers in his back, yet the killing blow was not from them. So, yeah. I'm going off on topic now, aren't I?
No, I'm looking at earlier pictures and screen grabs I've taken. She's definitely got a hidden blade on. Whether it's intentional or not, yeah, she wears a hidden blade.
We don't know. It broke. James, now you have to save us from this rabbit hole.
Okay, let's think. Think fast, James. Think fast. So,
on the spot.
What we doing? Right, Ru. Have you got any games in the franchise left to play? I think we lost Ru.
I'm back. Sorry. I was just violently coughing.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I was like, I'll have a drink of my coffee. And then I was like, oh, man, I finished my coffee. Yeah, I'm good now. Grabbed a drink of water.
Happy days. Yeah, same here. So I was wondering, Ru, are there any other games you've still got to play, or have you completed the entire franchise?
I do need to play AC3. I only got a little bit through that one, but I do have the remaster of that. I've been replaying Brotherhood as well, and I think I need Unity. I have not played Unity yet because I usually get all my games pre-owned, and usually there is a lot of copies of Unity at the game store that I go to that are pre-owned, but maybe because everyone's been getting back into Unity, it's back. Like, all of the copies aren't there anymore.
It's an underappreciated gem. That's what everyone says anyway.
I was talking to one of the employees and they were like, yeah, something's happened. Everyone's playing it again. And I'm like, I guess because it kind of works now. Like, they've fully ironed out all of the bugs.
Oh, there are still little bugs and glitches, that's for sure. But I love it. It plays well. I think so anyway. Yeah, go on, Declan.
Off topic slightly. Ru, what platform are you on for gaming?
I'm on Xbox.
Okay, so I can now shamelessly plug this, can I? So, I use it for everything. I've just literally bought 2 months of Game Pass off this site for £12. Check out CD Keys. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is they're selling a digital code copy of Assassin's Creed Unity worldwide for £2.69. I know that's England, but that's on sale from £39 to £2 odd.
Wow.
If I figure out Australia,
It's like £2.69, around $5, I think. Because I usually do the conversion as £1 is around $2 Australian.
Yeah.
I think now it's about 1.8. I usually just round up to 2.
There we go. I've put in Australian dollars on CD Keys. Let's have a look. And this is off topic. Five Australian dollars from 83 Australian dollars on CD Keys. Just plugging it in. I know it's off topic, but I've just got 1 month of Game Pass from £12 to £5. So there you go.
Is that in readiness for Elden Ring, Declan? Is it? Which I think you're excited about.
No, Elden Ring isn't on Game Pass, and
okay.
Judging how From Software games work, I will never play Elden Ring in my life because I've been trying to play Sekiro since it came out. The cheapest I've seen it on deal is 38 quid.
Right.
It never drops below 30 quid, and I can't afford stuff like that. I'm not rich. I'm British.
Gaming's just so expensive.
I know.
I think it's with the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC, it's around $53 here. And I was like, gotta save up my coins for that one.
Yeah, it's quite a lot for an add-on, isn't it?
And it was like, I think the base edition of the game, because games are really expensive here, kind of like just because of a digital goods tax that we have. So the base edition of the game was $60. And I was like, they're like the same price here. I don't know if that's the same kind of like everywhere else, because obviously our games, I think the gold edition of it was $120.
Ooh.
So, and then I remember I was going to buy Cyberpunk at launch, but I didn't because it was nearly $100. And I think it being $100, it saved me $100 because that game at launch wouldn't have been able to play it.
No, that's going to go down as one of the great gaming failures, isn't it? Cyberpunk. Apparently, it was fine on very high-end PCs. I don't know about consoles, but if you were on a slightly older console, you kind of had no chance. Those prices. I had. It's funny you talk about like the price of games. So I now own all of the Assassin's Creed games, including Chronicles. Declan and I did a live stream with a bit of Chronicles a month or so ago, which was good fun. The only one I've paid full price for was Valhalla because I pre-ordered. I can't remember if I pre-ordered whichever version it is comes with the Seasons Pass, so I got the DLCs. I guess that's the gold edition, isn't it? I think I paid £70 or £80, which is a lot of money for a game. That's a lot of money. But all the others, I mean, I said on the stream, I think I paid £1 each for the Chronicles games. Unity was free. All the others, I just waited until there was a Ubisoft sale or a Steam sale. Yeah. And, some of them were sort of 80% off. I got Black Flag for about £5. Great value. I love that game. So if you're patient, you can get good deals on the games. So you were saying AC3 is that the last one you've got to complete the set, is it?
Yes, and then kind of I've been going back and replaying them. So I've been replaying the Ezio trilogy.
Okay.
And obviously since it came out on the Switch, I was trying to convince my sister, hey, we've got a Switch. Can I use it to play the Ezio collection if I get it on Switch? And she was kind of like, aren't you, like, starting uni next week? And I'm like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be. I need to tone down the gaming just a bit. I'll still game, but just a bit, tone it down.
That's the nice thing about the Switch, though. You can have a bit of telly on in the evening, curled up on the sofa, stab some bad guys in Italy. It's just casual gaming.
Yeah. I think she got it primarily for Animal Crossing, and I was laughing because when she got it, I was at a convention. This was early 2020, and I was wearing my Cassandra cosplay, and I got a photo in front of, like, the Animal Crossing booth. So it's AC and AC.
Perfect.
And then I was joking with my friend that photo aged really well because I'd captioned it like, Cassandra on vacation on like an island. And then I was like, I have predicted the crossover of her just going off to an island for 6 months and be like, I'm done. Let me have a vacation.
Thoughts on the crossover? Did you enjoy it?
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Every moment of it. I do like that in the Valhalla one, it's kind of continued with the bit of Eivor's kind of just like, yeah, weird things happen and I'm just going to ignore them. Like, how Cassandra she just glows and Eivor's basically like, weird.
I do love that. There's definitely a thread of humour. I tell you, especially if you watch any of Access the Animus's videos. And I'm just waiting for Marco just to go full sarcasm, where he has this really deadpan delivery, where he just comments on how Eivor continues to be blissfully unaware of everything she's learned in the world around her about the Isu and all this advanced technology and these magical swords that she's pulling out of stones. It is hilarious. On that point, on the point of Cassandra's glow or sparkles as we see it in Valhalla, we were having a discussion about that the other day, myself, I think maybe Declan as well, and Six Keys and a few others. My theory, which is just a theory, but it would explain why Eivor has no idea what is going on, is those sparkles are an animus overlay. So Eivor doesn't see them, but the animus is adding that automatically because it recognises Cassandra's DNA because it's already relived and sequenced her memory. So there's my theory anyway.
That does make a lot more sense than Eivor perhaps being like, this woman glows.
Yeah, it's
she
curious,
doesn't like
isn't it?
being around people. She's really into this, like, ancient structure. Oh, and there's people that are possessed coming after her, yelling in ancient Greek. It's a bit weird. I truly think that Eivor kind of, like, Eivor definitely knew that something was up with just, like, this strange-ass woman she found on an island. Was like, yeah, something up about her. That's not Ranvi, but that's definitely not a normal person. And I respect that.
Yeah.
And that little scene that you get, I think there's like the two ones. One of their like first interactions after the fight, where we first get like a little bit of their dynamic of, Cassandra being like, oh, maybe Loki was, feeling like a trickster. And just like
that line
just the
brilliant.
stare that Eivor gives her, and she's like, so serious. You can hear the eye roll.
That's great dialogue and great vocal performance, isn't it? The way they deliver that. I mean, all their snarking and snipping at each other is just perfect.
And then I loved the little bit that you get kind of between one of the missions where it's unmarked. And if you find Cassandra and she's kind of talking with Alethea, and Abel's just like, oh yeah, she's mad. And I'm like, that's it? You're just like, she's mad. Not, what is she on about? Who is she talking to about me? No, stop it.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get a story where Eivor actually becomes aware, cognizant of what's going on around her.
Just the universe opens up. She gets a wide-eyed stare. She's like, oh, everything makes sense. I finally understand why I just have a collection of glowing weapons in the corner of my room.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be addressed in Dawn of Ragnarok. Might have
Yes.
might address this. Who knows? Are you looking? A cost aside, are you looking forward to playing it? Is it on your list?
Yes. I am. I'm kind of like, I'm really excited for it, but as I was saying to a couple of my mates, I like the myth aspect, but I'm not sure how I feel about it going full myth and not kind of like tying in with the Isu,
Yeah.
especially since it's supposedly set after all of the events that happen in Norway. It kind of doesn't make sense for Eivor to still be seeing everything through like the religion a bit. Like maybe like she still sees it, but not as much. I was kind of saying, I think I said, I really want to see like kind of, in game, the kind of facade of the Norse religion kind of come down. And Eivor sees like, all of the Isu structures, and that's maybe when she realizes what everything is.
If it does that, that would be very interesting.
Mm.
I have a similar concern, which is if it's a mythological hack and slash, that's absolutely fine. Personally, it's not really for me. But if there is, as you say, perhaps if it starts as a mythological hack and slash, and then the mythological veil falls away, and we are in an Isu city or the ruins of Isu cities, that becomes more interesting for me. I think Declan's interested anyway because he can't wait for a bit of myth. Can you, Declan?
I have a theory that I haven't shared about why Eivor's still the way she is, and it's stupid and makes no sense, but when she fights Odin at the very end and she disbands him and pushes him out of the mine, I don't think she really believed that was real. I really just think that because all the way through the start she thought she was destined to betray Sigurd. She was meant to be the one who loses his arm because that's what she saw in that vision, and because she's pushed Odin away and she didn't make him lose arm and she hasn't really betrayed Sigurd, that I think that she never really clicked onto what was happening around her, because in her eyes she's had the potions, she's seen her dreams, she's had the answers, but nothing's happened, so she kind of just pushed it away. But with the trailers talking more about Isu, I'm hoping that there's more Isu and that she actually does notice something different, and I'm hoping there's an argument between her and herself, because judging by how the ending, she shouldn't be remembering Odin. She pushed him away, so why is she now remembering? And I'm hoping there's like a scene where she's actually scared because she's remembering, because she's meant to have banished the god and the gods aren't real, but now they're back, what's going on? So I'm concerned. I have a list of concerns a mile long, but I am just generally excited to see where they go. But I don't think it's going to be perfect, and that's my honest opinion.
That's a much better theory than what I've got of why April's a bit clueless, and mine's kind of just, in the wise words of Amit, just mushrooms.
Shrooms.
Could just
Just
be
shrooms.
Walk up to Valka, take the shrooms, go on a magical mystery tour.
Yeah, I feel like she's kind of like, like I could deal with it, but I could just ask Valka for some mushrooms. And I have things to do. But there's so many like little details that get put in, and then there's just no explanation. Like, truly one of my favorite ones is I think it was the Ostera festival. Ooh, was it one? Whichever one was the one with the big ship. I haven't played in a while.
That was the
Osterus.
Go on, Declan, you might know.
Osterus Festival, the Wild Hunt.
Yes, that was it.
That one, and Abel just goes off into the woods, and the monk, he's like, "Oh, you need to fight your, worst enemy," and she fights herself. And it's like that whole thing of like she thought that Odin, being in her mind was her worst enemy, or Alfred was her worst enemy, but it's like it's literally her. And that maybe, leans into your theory of she's kind of like telling herself it wasn't real.
I think
Interesting.
I think as well, like, it's why I defend mythology so much, and I know I'm going off topic, but Eivor is devout in her beliefs. I think for someone to throw science in her face, like, no, it's Isu, it's still, they've got to break down all the walls of her beliefs, and not to be rude, but no matter what the Isu do, even if an Isu walked up to her and was like, hey, look, I've got an Isu ball of an apple of Eden, she's still going to find a mythological way around it, because it's how human nature is. If I went back in Viking times of a lighter, we all know that's science, but to them I'm Loki. Even if I explain to them the science, they'll still say, oh, he's a trickster. So I kind of feel that it's her beliefs is still pushing her away, but from the very first trailer where she gets shot with an arrow, and then we get the Easter writing, I think she may get a realization that she's not alone and that her beliefs are more real, and that's why she moves to Vinland, to be closer to the vault. Just saying.
Yeah, there's that bit.
Speculating away.
That's a good one.
And I've got to say, not to be big-headed, but my speculations should be kept ahead of, because on the 18th of June, I did call that Rebecca and Sean was going to be in Valhalla before we knew, so just going to say I've got a track record, and I did discuss on a podcast about Ragnarok being a part of Valhalla's main story. Called it.
Yeah.
Just being big-headed.
You got to take it, mate. Get your tips here. Put money on it now.
Yeah.
Is it wrong? I
like
just want to be
that
Odin
bit.
again.
Yeah. That little bit in the trailer where kind of Odin gets shot with an arrow, and then it kind of flicks to Eivor. There's that bit, and then I posted on Twitter that bit. I think it was from the gameplay trailer. It's like right at the end, and kind of like my art, it looks like kind of Odin and Eivor are splitting. And when I first saw that, I'm like, I am not emotionally prepared for this DLC. I can just sense like something very emotional is probably going to happen, and it's going to hurt.
I'm wondering when we're going to play it, because you're saving up for it, Ru. I'm not going to buy it at least full price. I'm going to wait. Declan, I guess like me, you're going to wait. So it could be some months before any of the three of us actually get to play the story ourselves.
Yeah. I might have saved up enough. It's just figuring out where to get it, because it's like, oh yeah, I've saved up the money, but then if I get it on the Ubisoft store, got to pay for shipping. No, wait, it's a digital code, so maybe I wouldn't have to.
I was going to say, would you go physical or would you buy digital? And
I'd probably go like the digital code, because I think the only extra thing that comes with the physical one is you get a couple of art prints. And as much as I love the art prints, I don't know if I could justify that extra cost on top.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, either way, I'm very excited.
As a guy who's been waiting for Assassin's Creed Mythology since AC2, I am kind of like drooling. I'm still disappointed that it's took since Etsy opening the vault for us to finally get Mythology. Still not going to be... Still happy we've got it though, so I'll take anything. Take it. I'll take it and I'll enjoy it. Just because I'm a weirdo.
What did you think then, Declan, of all the mythology in Odyssey, particularly Fate of Atlantis?
I hate Fate of Atlantis.
Tell us more.
It's awkward because it's my favourite DLC.
Well,
tell me.
Case for the prosecution is Declan, and Ru is the case for the defence. Here we go.
I hate it because the idea of a simulation in a simulation is perfect. I love the idea, and I love how it's adopted for Greek mythology, so it's more of a cultural transition for Cassandra. I despise that they continued the modern day into a DLC. because DLC is not accessible for all players, and a lot of players do not buy DLCs, evident by my latest Twitter. So forcing the true ending behind a DLC paywall is a dick move. That's why I hate it. I just hate modern day ends in a DLC. It's stupid, it's pointless, and if Valhalla does it, I will complain on Twitter as well.
That's a fair call.
So for you, Declan, it's the fact that it continues the story that you don't like, not the content of the story itself.
Yes, I think the content was great. You know, I didn't actually complete it. I watched it on YouTube, but the content looked stunning. I just hate the fact of if someone was to go out now and buy Odyssey, then play Valhalla, they're still going to be like, why has Layla got a staff? What have I missed? And then you have to say, actually, no, mate, go buy the season pass, go buy the DLC, play Fate of Last, and then you'll understand Valhalla. That's a lot of hurdles for someone who's just started the franchise.
Yeah.
It's not accessible, in my opinion.
It's fair enough. Okay, Ru, what do you think?
That is a very valid point. I agree that you shouldn't have your ending behind a paywall. It's like when you see, like, you know, an article, and you're like, oh, very excited to read that article, and then the essential information is behind a paywall. It's just frustrating. It makes it inaccessible to a lot of people. But for me, Fate of Atlantis is my favourite, maybe because I'm a little bit biased towards Odyssey. But with the whole simulation inside of a simulation, when I first played it, for some reason in my mind, I thought that Alethea had sent Cassandra through a portal back in time to the Isu era. And
Gotcha.
then when I finished it and found out, no, it was just a simulation, I was kind of like, But yeah, I really like the world of it. I like Hades. Hades is cool.
Yeah.
I do like that he's kind of like, he has like a John Wick energy to him. He's like, you killed my dog. Prepare to feel the wrath of the gods because you killed my dog. Yeah, I do hope that the ending of Valhalla and the reason why Eivor's in Vinland isn't in a DLC, kind of because it's like, that seems like some pretty essential information.
I've said it before, but that's the main bit of the mystery I would like an answer to, which is how, not how, because that would be by ship. That's a stupid question. Why and when did she return to Vinland? Was it towards the end of her life? Was it in her middle of her life? You know, was it, as Declan said, she felt a need to be near the temple? Did she go to protect the temple? Or who knows? Was her clan destroyed and her only connection with people was this the people she met in North America? I don't know. Let's see.
I always found it so strange because she has a Norse burial there.
Yes.
So it seems like either the people there knew of their customs, you know, there was some Norse there, or maybe some of the clan came with her. But then in my mind, I'm like, it really doesn't make sense for, like, the temple, if it's like, oh, I need to be near this temple, when she had very little interaction with that one. You know, she literally said herself, this place wasn't made for me.
Yes.
So to me, it would make more sense if, like, she was buried, like in or around the vault in Norway. Because as I was thinking, so they said that the game is set in 2020, which obviously COVID. So
yep.
I get that, you know, they're basically a secret organization, but how on earth are the assassins getting from North America to Norway with no problems? And, like, Basim, how is he getting back? He doesn't have a passport.
Do you know, that's a damn good point. That is a damn good point. I mean, they can't. I assume they must have a private jet. I mean, you're not exactly booking on commercial. He's not getting an EasyJet flight
Yeah.
or British Airways or Norwegian or anything from Oslo to Boston or whatever. So that is a damn good point.
But it's also the thing of the assassins, like, with, like, the Great Purge, you know, they're in, like, smaller numbers. You know, as, like, Rebecca says, we don't have the resources that the Templars have. So it's like, I don't know if they would have a private jet. Maybe they have, like, you know, an old beat-up plane that they bought for, like, $200 from some sketchy guy. No,
Bits
like,
falling off, engines that
they'll,
won't
like,
start. Yeah.
this will work.
Yeah.
It's got a smoke trail behind it, but it'll get us to Norway. But my whole time I'm just thinking, how are these guys traveling? Because at the time of Valhalla's release by City Melbourne, we were, like, still in lockdown, and we would continue to be in lockdown for a couple of months. So I'm just sitting there thinking, how are they getting around? What's going on? So yeah, to me, it would make more sense if Eivor was buried in Norway, because it seems like she would have more connection to the land of Norway. That's where she was born. You know, that's where her family is from, her belief, than to be buried in North America, where she outwardly says, you know, this place is not meant for me, when talking about the temple, but then goes on to say, my heart is tied to this land. But in, like, the game, it seems like she's been there, like, a couple of days. And she's already decided, yep, this is where I die.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Much to think about.
What if, and I'm just thinking of this now, but what if she picks Finland to be neutral ground, you know? Maybe something happens with Sigurd or the memories of Odin, so England's too much for her and she can't go back to Norway because of Harold or whatever his guy's name is. I've forgotten already.
Harold Fairhair.
Harold Fairhair. Maybe she just doesn't want to go back there because she may not feel welcome. So the only place she felt she could truly be free, away from destiny, away from everything, and people were not fighting over the beliefs. You know, in the fire scene where she was telling the stories and the indigenous people were, like, really gripped with what she was saying. Maybe she kind of felt like, this is where I could retire. I could be a storyteller, and I'm away from the constraints of my beliefs. I'm away from destiny, and I'm just can die in peace. That's where I would retire. It looks nice.
That's what I'm wondering. If she was just done with everything, the politics, the fighting, the whole, you know, what's this extra voice in my head thing, and just, wanted peace.
Let her retire. It's like
exactly.
You know, an Odyssey crossover style vacation.
Instead of
just,
my god, that is
instead
brilliant.
of 6 months, it's just Eivor
the rest of her life,
just like making mead in her little shack.
Yeah,
she's got a nice mountain view. She's near a lake. Oh, I could get into that lake, but I won't.
I wondered if I might take a segue, because we're talking about Eivor, and just talk briefly about your cosplay, Ru. Because I was following your progress over some months where you've made an amazing, as well as the whole costume. In particular, I just bashed the microphone with my hand because I'm using hand gestures. It's very unprofessional. I'm sorry, everyone. You made an amazing replica of her shield, a phenomenally detailed replica of her shield. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So originally the costume was going to be for a convention in 2021, but obviously it was cancelled because of COVID.
Yep.
But I still really wanted to make the shield, because obviously it's it's a sturdy prop. And then I have a couple of friends, they do LARP, and he had said, like, hey, you know, if you, like, would you be able to teach me how to make a shield? So it's kind of like, let me figure out how to make them first, and then I'll, you know, teach you how to make one. So it started as 2 foam sheets that I got from a swimming pool store. Those cut it into a circle, and then I cut them each into the individual slats that make up the shield. So I could, individually kind of like carve them into the wood pieces. Then I glued them back together, cut the center hole so I could have the sorry. Oh, frog in my throat. So I could have the handle piece, and then there is the dome. That it has a proper name that I cannot remember for the life of me. That's made out of a combination of just craft foam and a thermoplastic called Warbler. That's what makes it kind of a little more sturdy.
All right.
Then nice paint job. Making the ravens for it was probably one of the most difficult parts because I wasn't able to kind of freehand paint it because I have really shaky hands. So I made kind of like a inverted template so I could cover up the parts that I didn't want to have any paint on it, and then the paint parts would be left open. I just sponged on a nice, I think it's we got blue and white? No, wait, so blue and white. I'm just looking at it on my wall. Sponge
You
on
have
a
it on your
nice...
wall.
I do. I have...
Oh, that's spectacular.
My room is kind of decorated with all the props that I've made. So I've got my shield. I've got Excalibur, Cassandra's spear and her Copus blade. And then I have Andromache's axe from the Old Guard. Those are the ones that I can fit on my wall. A couple of others I've had to kind of put in a box and put down in our shed. But yeah, it was really fun to kind of make. I kept on putting it off because of all the like lockdowns. My energy kept on getting drained. But just like having that project to kind of focus on, and then later in the year I made Excalibur for the anniversary of the game, and that I built that in a week. So I built that super fast, and then managed... The original idea for that was I was going to have it light up, so it would be LEDs through it, but couldn't get LEDs in. So yeah, I make like little bits here and there. And here's an exclusive. I am planning on making Cassandra's assassin outfit from the end of the crossover.
Oh, the outfit she wears in Origin. Oh, when she goes to the library.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'm planning on making that. I've got the wig, of course. I've already got that. And it's just... I'm really looking forward to making the hidden blade. I'm going to see if I can make it so I can make it, retractable, like a dual action blade. Yeah. So yes, very excited for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Currently with cosplay, I've got a week till my next convention. And I'm going as Silco from Arcane.
Now, at this point, I have to admit, I don't know Arcane or who Silco is. Declan, do you know what that is?
No.
The best way I can describe him is if you combine Two-Face from Batman with Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders.
Oh, nice.
So he's kind of like a gangster, but then he's got like this kind of chemical eye. And he's kind of just a gangster in the show. But my friend's going as Jinx, because it's all like connected with League of Legends. So yeah, very excited for that. Got to find a mask to match, of course. Got to be COVID safe.
Of course. That's fantastic. Yeah, I've enjoyed watching your, like I said, your Eivor costume come together was amazing. You should definitely check out Ru's work there. The creativity knows no bounds.
Started doing costumes pretty young. I think I've been cosplaying, not consistently, but for about 10 years now. So I first went to a convention, and I don't know if maybe you guys would know, if people watching. There's a comic book series and an animated show called Bravest Warriors.
I haven't heard of
And
it, but go on.
there is a character named Catbug, and he's what it says on the tin. He is a splice between a cat and a ladybug. So little, like 10-year-old me going to a first convention with my cat ears and a little ladybug backpack,
Oh.
and now, making Excalibur. I was like, we've come so far.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's amazing. So what next then? Next is the big is the convention with your arcane costume.
Yes.
Any others from Assassin's Creed that you'd like to make?
I've always wanted to make Ezio, like AC2 Ezio, in his kind of original robes. I always wish that they add the AC2 robes or Revelation robes as a legacy outfit. I love Brotherhood's robes, but they are kind of a bit chunky. They kind of they've got like the nice sleek look, but it's like there's not much like visual interest. So I always wish, because I really like the AC2 robes, because there's just so much going on. There's like the red stripes. He's got the little kind of shoulder puffs, the nice frilly shirt.
Yes,
very much a Renaissance man.
So you would want them as a legacy outfit? Do you mean in a newer game, so you could get reference photos of the costume?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's one of my favorite things about photo mode. Photo mode is truly a blessing, because I can go in and really zoom in on an outfit. Be like, okay, this is exactly how the buttons are placed. That's exactly how the hair falls. All of that. Yeah. Ezio's AC2 robes.
Yeah, I'm thinking, don't we have Ezio's AC2 robes in Unity? I think we
do. Because I think Unity has like the most legacy outfits.
I think I may need to go and put Arno in some AC2 robes and to fire up the mods and see what photo mode pics we can get as a little side project.
Yeah,
I'll let you know what I find, Ru.
Yeah, Ezio's AC2 robes, definitely a plan. I've always wanted to cosplay one of the Fry twins. Either one works, because I love both of their outfits. Kind of like how Evie's is like, it's like super structured. Oh, getting off topic again. But how in the main game, Evie's outfit is like super structured, super like clean cut and all that. And then in the Jack the Ripper DLC, her outfit is like a lot more loose. It's kind of like less, I guess, constricting. Which kind of like coincides with at the end of Syndicate. She's like, oh, maybe I don't need to, be so kind of, peculiar all the time about everything.
Yeah, she drops her sort of rigid following of her father's teachings, doesn't she? Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, Declan, anything else that we want to chat to Ru about?
No, I think you've covered all my notes and other notes.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing we can finish up with is Codextober 22, maybe.
Well,
will you be handing the baton to someone else this year? Do you think?
I will possibly do it. Obviously, I'm starting uni soon, so it's
yeah, of course.
It's going to be
that's a bit more important.
Kind of like organizing that, but one of my main plans is to kind of have a separate account for it. So it can be like, this is the main kind of Codextober account. This will have all of it. Maybe I might set it up soon and, do maybe some monthly events, maybe like little weeks. A week that might celebrate one certain game. Or like maybe a weekly prompt fun little things to kind of get the community involved in the creative side.
Yeah.
Why does this feel, I don't know, I'm probably shooting myself in the foot for this, but something that we at the Mental Health Guild should be trying to head up? You know, the Mental Health Guild has a Twitter. I roll emoji. Maybe we could hint at the fellow mentors to, help drive this, because a lot of us have different communities and mentors are from around the world, so could all get together and make it go boom and do giant community events.
Yeah.
I may have to ask everyone to see who's on board. Quick, drag them into it. But I think that's all we've got time for tonight, unless James has got anything.
I think so. Other than Ru telling the listeners where they can follow her work on Twitter and on Instagram, and elsewhere, maybe.
My list of links out. Right, so I am Valorian Ru on Twitter. That is VALORIANRU. And then on Instagram, I've got 2 Instagrams because I'm very organised. My art account, as I said earlier, is Soulless Demon. SOLISDAEMON. And then my cosplay account, very fitting for an Australian, is Kangaroo. KANGARRU.
Very nice.
When I figured out that I could use Kanga and Roo and have Kangaroo, I was very happy. I was like, that's going to be my brand now.
So sorry, Declan, my mic broke for a second. I was about to say something, but my mic was like, let's not work. Well, so thank you for joining, Ru, and I will apologise that it's been so long getting you on board.
It's alright.
If anybody has anything they wanted to ask Ru or to check on the work, please follow on Twitter. If you've got any questions about today's podcast, or if you want to be part of the next Community Spotlight, then please reach out to me or James, me at AC Let's Talk on Twitter, and James at James Liquid. It is getting late and my brain's not working. You can email me at assassinscreedletstalk@gmail.com, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.
See you all soon.
Alrighty. See you. Thank you for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure talking.
Oh, it's been great.
It's great to have you on board.